It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Delightful.
Pleasant.
Great. Hope everybody out there is doing okay.
Flacco's doing good, too.
Yeah, I guess so. Hope everybody out there is doing all right. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
All right. So, I don't know, a week or two ago? I think it was probably 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, that looks like it was 2 weeks ago. We got a review copy of a new comic coming out that I thought was pretty interesting. I thought I would share. The title of this new comic is Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia. And this, actually, there was a preview of this in one of the Free Comic Book Day titles that came out, the one that came out for Starburns Industries. And so, because they're the ones who are publishing this book. And this is the story of a guy named Rory, who is obviously a pro wrestler. And he's kind of starting to have a rough time of it, isn't real happy with where he's going, and has been denied the chance to win the belt. And so he gets in a huff, he gets all pissed and quits and says, screw it, I'm the galactic champion of the universe, and I don't have to put up with this anymore. So the interesting part is when a species of interstellar wrestlers picks up this broadcast, because this is part of an interview on TV, and decides to challenge the galactic champion of the universe. So interstellar wrestlers show up, and first contact happens. This story is a lot of fun. And I mean, the best way I can sell this is to basically let everybody know that I'm not a wrestling fan, and this is a really entertaining story. So you definitely want to check it out. It is created by a couple of guys. I'm going to mispronounce names here, but Ed Keenell and Matt Enton. And they have got some pretty hardcore talent in to work on this book with them. They've got Dan Schade doing the art, Marissa Louise is coloring, Dave Lanfear is lettering. So some folks who have been around the block a little bit. So this is kind of a really cool intro book. Again, it's called Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia. Hit your local comic shop up for it, because it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
It does sound like fun.
Well, we took some time off because, once again, my computer, I don't know what's wrong with it. I think I fixed it, fingers crossed. So, for one, I wanted to thank the guys for bearing with me. I know it sucks when you're ready to go and it's like, I can't.
Where
so thank
the hell's
you for being patient. Well, we have a good editor on our show, because the previous show, my computer died in the middle of it, and they had to wait and let me boot up again and get it going. So, I was glad they were kind of aware of what was going on. So it wasn't like, sure, she's fixing her computer and washing her hair. So in that time, my dogs are crazy tonight too, so I
Yay.
apologize in advance for all the muting and cutting out I'll probably have to do. But okay, so in that time we had Free Comic Book Day, and I went out and saw some really cool people in costumes and stuff, and I grabbed some friends so I could actually get some more comics.
Wow.
The Catwoman story. Yeah, I had to find a loophole in the system. But, you know, if they weren't going to use their free comics, somebody had to, right?
You bet.
But the Catwoman story is really good. I think we had recommended that one before. The only complaint that I would have about Free Comic Book Day is I thought I was picking up the H.P. Lovecraft comic, and I get it home, and I get to looking at it, and I flip it around, and no, it's some kind of fish story. It's like not even a comic that should have been on the back of, you know. So,
Was it just
but
an
a lot
ad?
of it was an ad on the back of the comic book, but the
Okay.
way it was setting, it looked like that was the, you know, because not only was it an ad, it was upside down.
It was flipped. Yeah.
Yes, so it looked like, well, maybe it was, I was hoping, you know, after I saw the fish story on the other side, that maybe it was one of those that they do half one way and you flip it over and you read the second one.
Right.
But it was not.
Whoops.
But I was able to pick up some of the stuff that I'd been missing. I did get a chance to read The Deceased that just started. And if you're a zombie fan, it's kind of cool. Especially if you're, you know, a reader of The Walking Dead. The guy who does the artwork for that is doing the artwork for this one. And with some of the zombies and stuff, you can really tell that it's him, you know. And it's in color, so it's like, woohoo! So if you're a fan of that, definitely pick this one up. It should be a good story. Right now, it's kind of at that explaining why the virus, how it got loose and everything. And it's a hard sell, but I'll go ahead and buy it, you know. So you kind of have to look past, you know, the first couple of pages, and then it gets really good. But I also found I had missed my Klaus stories that comes out. And I'm curious, I don't know if you guys know or not, were these one-shots that they did in between some of these? Because some of them I don't remember, and it looks like a whole little story, you know. There was two. I picked up the Crying Snowman, which was really good. And like I said, it appears to be a one-shot too. And The Crisis in Xmasville. I'm still reading that one though. And I don't know, I kind of like the one-shot, one-story kind of comics, you know. They're a little bit more expensive, but it's not bad considering normally the Klaus series is anywhere from 6 to 10.
Yeah.
Break that down. At minimum, $2.99 a copy. That's $30 for the story. These, I think, were $8. So, not bad. Not
Cool.
as long of a story, but, you know.
No, but
So if you're a fan of that.
right, and it's great for like an intro type thing.
Mm-hmm. You know, Grant Morrison's always been one of those writers that you either really love what he's writing or you really hate what he's writing, you know. These I happen to enjoy from him. There's some other things that I didn't care for, but so if you're a fan of his, they're really good. And it doesn't have to be Christmas time to enjoy a good non-Christmas story. Or I should say anti-Christmas story. So.
Anti-Christmas, really?
Well, yeah, I mean, they kind of spoof on Christmas. It's real murderous and it's definitely red.
Not like a little mindless violence for Christmas.
All right.
It's all good.
Get you in that mood.
Mm-hmm.
Puts everything in perspective right there.
There you
Right. Well, I've always been a real big fan of Krampus. And they're not, he's not Krampus. Actually, I think they've revealed that he's like a Santa Claus / Krampus kind of guy, So
He's the anti-Krampus.
yeah, he's the anti-Krampus. I think they even had a story between the two. Yeah, it's pretty good if you like that kind of stuff.
I think that's what they did, Liz, was put little fillers, little one-shots in between. So it keeps the interest up in the story and just puts you off just enough that they can accommodate.
Yeah.
Yeah, lets them get away with waiting several months to start the next series to base it around Christmas.
Yeah. Well, with how late in the year that they release those, I always thought that it should come out before December, or maybe the first part of December. These are usually like the last week in December, after Christmas, and so it's kind of like, then you want me to buy 6 more copies,
Right, because that's issue 1.
Right.
And you're going into
So
summer.
one shot makes more sense, but they need to put it out a little sooner,
Yeah.
That way, by Christmas, you've read your story,
Maybe they'll get their timing down eventually.
Maybe. But it is Grant Morrison, so.
Yeah. Good luck with all that.
Right. I think he's doing, he's over at Heavy Metal, and you know how well they are about hitting their deadlines, too. So.
Yeah, if they thought he was going to come in and fix that problem, I don't know.
But, I don't mind waiting for a good story. I just wish when they made you wait, they hurried up and finished the rest of it. Instead of issue 1, 6 months, issue 2.
Right. Get them all in the box before you start shipping them out. I mean, how hard is that,
Right.
At least get 4 or 5 of them ready. I mean, done.
Yep.
Get them done. Is it really going to kill you to wait 6 months to start? I don't think so.
Mm-mm. Or at least get a couple sitting on your desk.
Right.
It's like I noticed Iron Maiden's putting a new story out. It's like, yeah, that one's going to take a while to get. And all I kept thinking about was those trades that we had to get fulfilled. It kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. So I don't think I'll be reading that one. And then, of course, today we've changed to Sundays, and it's Mother's Day. I woke up to the little girl across the street. She brought me a rose for Mother's Day.
Aww.
I thought that was so sweet.
Very nice.
Yeah. So.
Your own children gave you nothing, but
absolutely nothing.
Wow.
We went to dinner, and I got a phone call.
And now they're sharing a can of beans for dinner.
Right. No soup for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really sweet. I'd helped them out with their dog. Go figure. So
Yeah.
my husband told me, he's like, you're probably like her hero right now, Like, well, I don't do it for that. I do it for the animals, and most of the time my donations and stuff are done anonymously in Zeus's name. So, but it was, like I said, it was a really good feeling this morning.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Well,
Gee, I think that was my 15 minutes.
Pretty close.
just under the wire.
I'll save the rest of what I had for next week.
Well, I too partook of Free Comic Book Day. Had a good time. Did a handout at one of the local shops. One of the 3 local shops that had the touring touring writers, and that was fun. We were the third stop on their tour. So when they finished with us, they got through the line of people in about 20 minutes. When they were finished, it was just sit around and talk. Listen to the funny stories and things like that.
That's cool.
That can be fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was nice. And to me, Free Comic Book Day was a success again. Stores, what I have heard, did very well that day outside of the free comics. So kudos to the organization again.
For sure.
And look forward to it next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was kind of different going to a different comic book store this year, though. I'll have to throw that out. You almost feel like you're cheating when you walk through the door. You know? So it was different this year for sure.
I know what you're saying there too, because it is such a strange feeling.
It is. That, and I had wonderful guys who took care of me, so by the time I got there, my free comic books were already off to the side. I missed that this year.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Actually, I had to get there early.
Yeah.
I added a few more trades to my pile. I keep doing that, and I hadn't finished the ones that I've picked up before.
Ain't that the way it works?
Pretty much. It's like I take a couple off, and then I add about 3 or 4 on. So it's kind of it's that stone trying to roll it up the hill, and it keeps rolling back.
Yep.
But I added to my Silver Age collection. I picked up Batman and Superman in World's Finest, Volume 2. And I picked up Green Lantern, Silver Age, Volume 3. And Justice League of America, Silver Age, Volume 4. And it's kind of cool just going back and looking at some of the art. There was a couple of stories from the Justice League I remember reading from one of the treasuries that came out a long time ago. One of them was, and Les would probably remember this story, where they were visiting disabled children in a hospital, and then I forgot who they were battling, but all of a sudden he made them have the same disabilities as the kids they visited in the hospital, and they had to overcome that. But it just, the World's Finest in particular, some of the stories are just so outlandish and so wild. But that's kind of the Silver Age for you. It was one where Batman had gained superpowers, and between that, there was this tug of war between the two characters. You know, they didn't work together anymore, and they were more likely to fight each other and all that. It's just really crazy stories, but it's kind of fun to go back and read some of that. It's not it's not as serious as things tend to be nowadays.
Have you noticed in the dialogue that back then there were no periods used in their speaking? It was either an exclamation point or it was a question mark. If you just read one word balloon, it'll just crack you up because you want to put the emphasis just like they do for the exclamation point, and you got to laugh.
It's all very dramatic, yes.
Got to pay attention to that.
That's pretty cool.
I'm gonna have to pay pretty close attention to that when I finish up these books. So that's real cool. And obviously we had our meetup last night. It was a smaller group, but I think everybody had a good time, and that's okay. We're just all about having fun, spending time with each other, and talk about this, that, and the other. And I think everybody had a good time. Of course, we'll have it again in June. Get you a date real quick because I haven't got anything set up on the website just yet. It will be June 8th. And once again, it will be at Wing City in Garland, Texas, and the address is 1456 Beltline Road, Suite 120. I'll have something on the website here more than likely by the time this episode drops, and I'll have something have a Facebook event hopefully by that time too. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'd love to come meet us and hang out with us for some good food and some great conversation. You're more than welcome to come join us. It'll be at 7 o'clock. We were there about a good 3 hours, I think. At least at least 3 hours.
It was after 10 when we left.
Right. So, like I said, I'll have something up on the website, which is www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Should have that here by the time this episode drops. So we welcome you to come join us. Alrighty. So for this week, we are doing another one of our casting calls.
Woo.
I've been digging the heck out of these things. It's been so much fun. And I think, like in the case of this one, if it's not an established show or movie franchise, if it's something that I'll be honest, I'm pulling out of the air and say, okay, let's do this. To me, it seems a little bit more liberating because you don't have those set, okay, here's based on what cast we're kind of building around, you have all those rules and expectations and that kind of thing. I think it's a little bit more liberating. I don't know about you guys. Do y'all think with that one way or the other? Or
yes, and that can be both good and bad at times. But that's not a reason not to do it that way. I mean, for me it's more fun because it opens things up, and I think we come up with more interesting lists independently than if we're trying to, whether we're trying to or not, whether we end up matching up with something that already exists accidentally because that's kind of where our minds are because that's what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more interesting this way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe a little harder too, but that's okay.
Yeah, I can see that too. In the case for this week, it is a creation of my own making. I decided that in our world, there was a Spider-Man TV series in 1966, that time frame. So based on that, we are doing another casting call. And I'm excited to hear some of the names that we actually come up with. Who would like to lead off, and who would you start off with?
I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
And I'll pick the first one off the top. And it's Peter Parker. I went with, I was trying to find the cute boy next door kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And so I went with David Cassidy. 1966 David Cassidy.
Well, right. That's the idea.
Right.
Let's clear that on the top. Yeah.
He's even still alive. Come on now.
But I almost went with Davy Jones, but he was doing his own thing in '66. So, but they kind of look the same, don't they? In '66.
David Cassidy and Davy Jones looking the same? No.
They had that same kind of. Okay.
They were
Yeah.
both
They were
crossover
both boys.
actors, singers, sure. Yeah, they were both kind of the respective pretty boys on their shows, but yeah, that's about where it ends.
Yeah. Yeah. I went with David Cassidy.
Okay.
No, I
Okay.
think that's legit. I think he is kind of got that pretty boy thing going on, which can be fun. Which you want your leading man to be recognizable, sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
Well, with that choice, you could probably go with Sean Cassidy or Parker Stevenson or who else? Well, let's leave it at those. I'm not discounting what you had, Liz. I'm just saying if you're going for mediocre actors that are pretty boys.
Wow.
Dang. I thought you
Well,
were
it's going
just,
to be real interesting hearing your pick here, Les.
I thought you were just naming Hardy Boys for some reason. I didn't realize there was underlying hostility there. Jeez.
Yeah. So, just out of curiosity, Les, what was your pick for Peter Parker?
What did I have? I didn't
Yes.
have anything.
What?
It was. I'm sorry, but that's almost too easy. So I didn't even attempt to get a pick.
Dodging controversy. All right.
Well, them too.
Or he didn't do his homework.
No, I did my homework on other stuff.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But that was the one character I did not come up with out of the, dozen characters I have.
Dang.
Okay.
I'll concur the idea that this was a really hard one to pick. I mean, it's hard to pick kind of a star in that time frame. I had a hard time with it. I mean, I ended up picking somebody probably a little off center. And the deal is I was trying to find somebody about the right age who wasn't already doing something else major. Because I came up with a few other ideas, but I mean, I actually, it's funny, Liz mentions Davy Jones. I actually thought about Mickey Dolenz for this role, but decided I kind of didn't want to go that route. So I picked Tim Matheson, who hadn't done a whole lot of, let's say, live action roles at this point. But he would have been about 18, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a Hollywood veteran already. I mean, he'd done some voice work as a kid.
Yep. He was Johnny Quest.
So I thought, and turned out to be a pretty attractive guy and a pretty damn good actor along the way too, later on.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be interesting to try that.
That's interesting. I should have thought of him, but I didn't. I liked the choice. I actually went with a future co-star of his, a future TV co-star with him.
Peter Riegert?
What TV show were they on?
Well, he was on Animal House.
They were in Animal
Yeah.
House.
Well, yeah.
One of them was on the I forget, was it called Delta House? Was it Riegert? Was Riegert on that? Or am I crazy?
I think that was Stephen First.
Well,
Yeah.
Easy mistake there.
Sure. We'll go with that.
No, my pick was Kurt Russell.
That guy.
That guy.
interesting.
Yeah.
How old was he at that point?
If I'm not mistaken, he would have been about 16 or 17.
All right.
He was born in 51, so he would have been 15, and maybe a little bit on the young side. But he had done a ton of work by then. He'd done a lot of guest appearances and some movies, so I mean he'd done a lot of acting by that point.
Yeah, cool. Why not?
Done jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he obviously could have done The Boy Next Door, but he obviously could, handle the action and all that too. So.
Yeah.
All right.
How about Tim Considine, the eldest son of my 3 sons?
Okay.
Just tossing.
No, that's fine. Okay.
Yep.
Alrighty. Who's next?
Second one with Aunt May. I took the easy way out, and I went with another famous aunt, and I went with Aunt B, Elizabeth Bouvier.
Bouvier.
Bouvier. Okay.
Okay.
Interesting association there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you pull it off.
Yeah.
What do you put Don Knotts with her as Uncle Ben?
Well, he's already gone. Right?
Oh, come on. You could have him in the funeral scene. That would be a hoot.
Oh.
A little dark for 1966 TV, but a hoot nonetheless.
Okay. Les?
There again, I did not have one. I didn't even think about her as a character. I was looking more toward villains and even support groups.
Support groups.
Support groups?
Sure.
Spider Bites Anonymous.
Yeah, I guess.
I can also see, here we go, I'm doing this again. I could see the idea of leaving Aunt May out of it entirely. It makes sense in a way because, I don't know, do you really need that? Does he really, you could have kind of the looming responsibility towards Aunt May without actually having her on the show, I think. You could have her get mentioned occasionally, but without actually having somebody playing her. So I can see that.
Yeah.
I picked somebody for it, but and I again I had to juggle a little bit with ages on this one because I mean that's 1966 it's a while ago, and once you go back to a certain point, it's all just sort of old movies and TV, and being able to pick out people in the right age range gets tricky.
It does.
But I went with somebody who had been around and done some movies for a while at that point. I picked Elsa Lanchester.
Ooh. Yeah. I like that one.
I do too.
If nothing else, if you can't find her in anything else, I mean, don't think about the whole Bride of Frankenstein thing. Check her out in the movie Murder by Death.
Oh yes.
Yes.
That kind of character as Aunt May, I think, works beautifully.
Yeah.
For me, I went with an actress that I'm sure not a lot of people are going to know, but she kind of popped in my head when I put together this list. I was like, okay, this is who I want. And mainly because of her several appearances on the 60s version of Dragnet. And I went with Nadia Westman. Because if you pull up a picture of her, you're going, yeah, that kind of looks like Aunt May. And the way she kind of acted, the performances she did on that series, you go, yeah, I can kind of see it. Kind of the annoying mother type, which Aunt May can be.
Yeah, see, she was busy that year. She was in The Ghost and Mr. Chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So another Don Knotts reference there. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so who's next, Liz?
Going right down the list again, or do you want me to skip around?
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
We'll go with the next one of J. Jonah Jameson. I went with another kind of famous reporter, and I went with Ed Asner. Lou. He would have been a little younger. I think he could have pulled it off.
Which wouldn't have been a bad thing, and he's got the grumpy thing down pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
He's got spunk.
He does.
Les got that reference.
Yeah,
I would stay away from that.
You would want to stay away from what?
From saying that.
Okay.
I looked for somebody with just a boisterous attitude, somebody that would shout a lot. He's mainly known as a comedic actor, but Jim Backus, to me, would be able to fit it.
Okay.
Do a blow-up, but he could calm down. He's a good serious actor, too. He was in the movie with James Dean. So, I think he could have fit without much difficulty.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that, too.
Now, was he Mr. Magoo?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
He was also Mr. Howell.
Mr. Howell, yep.
And I actually kind of took a page from the same book. I went with someone who is really kind of better known for his comedy. But there's a certain physical presence I thought would be kind of important for this role. So I went with Kenneth Mars.
Oh, okay.
But challenge him to a dart contest?
That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Every few episodes, you might see him go up to a roof and deal with the visions and all that. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had a similar mindset that Les was talking about. So I went with one a little bit more dramatic, but I could see he can pull off comedy. And so I went with James Gregory. Probably best known as being Inspector Luger from Barney Miller, but a ton of other TV shows and movies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So, okay, Liz, we can keep going down the list then?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one's probably the one that I had the most trouble with because a lot of women during that time, they were 20, 30 years old playing teenagers. They looked that amazing.
I'm glad I'm not the only person who had that problem.
Right. Because, you think of I Dream of Jeannie was at this time, and she was actually 35? And not that that's old, but it's like I never would have guessed that. she kind of reminded me of someone in the 20s. But I didn't pick Barbara Eden. I kind of went with more of a lesser known, and I went with Marianne Faithfull. I think she had that classic look that Mary Jane's always kind of portrayed. See, I wish y'all could see my sheets when I do these, because I always take the picture that was like sealed the deal for me. Yes, that's who that's going to be. And I think if you dye her hair brown, she would have been perfect for this one.
I think that's an interesting choice.
It is.
I said she was probably the hardest one to cast.
Okay.
Because isn't Spider-Man, I mean, aren't they like high schoolers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of starts out that way.
Starts out, yeah.
Yeah. 66, so.
Well, they keep going back there, too, so, I mean.
Yeah, he got older for a while, and now he seems to be getting younger somehow. I don't know how that works exactly, but...
It's the Benjamin Button thing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's radioactive spiders.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Keeps you young.
Okay.
Well, with this one, I'm sorry, I had to give in just to see her on the screen again. And that's Natalie Wood. To me, she was eternally young. Anything she did, she was young.
Yeah.
So.
And dying as young as she did kind of adds to that mystique, too. But, yeah.
True.
True.
But, yeah. I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it, too.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble with this, too, because I in a way, made the mistake of picking like an 18-year-old Peter. And, man, there just weren't really that many, or at least I couldn't find any women who were that age in that time frame. They're all, like you said, they're all older, playing characters that look a lot younger, and I struggled, and I actually came up with a choice I didn't really like. And just sitting here a bit ago, realized, oh wait, I thought of somebody who is actually like 26 or something when at that time. Mm-hmm. But I'm going with Sandra Dee.
Okay.
Okay.
She's got that kind of all-American thing going on, and can act a little bit, so that helps. And so,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the idea that she could play an aspiring actress, I mean, pretty much any of the women in that time frame can. So, because they were one.
Yeah. She was beautiful.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked her for my Betty. To me, that was where I was able to fit her. But I think that's a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
I had some trouble with this one, but through my research and all this, I came up with a name. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this could work. She kind of made a name for herself a couple years later from this time frame, from her performance as Juliet. I'm going with Olivia Hussey.
Okay.
And she would be roughly around the same age as Kurt Russell, so I was fortunate enough on all that front. So.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have thought of her.
Mm-mm.
I can totally see it, but it wouldn't. Hers wasn't a name that popped in my head about this, which is a pity because she kind of fits what I needed perfectly.
Yeah, she does.
I just kind of lucked into it.
Clearly, I should have moved forward about 5 years in time and then kind of worked backwards from there. But I did not think of that when I was doing this, unfortunately.
Well, if you had some of those Pym particles, you could have been able to do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
That was almost spoilery right there.
If I just went to see it, then everybody's already seen it.
Everybody who's going to, anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Okay, here's where the real fun begins, because we're going to start casting the villains.
Woohoo! All right, and the first one is Dr. Octopus. I went with Art Metatrono. Metatrono?
Madrona?
Yes, that's who I picked. He kind of had the way that they drew him in '66. He kind of had, the picture I saw, he had the same facial expression as the comic book covers. So I was like, yep, that's him.
That's kind of a giveaway, huh?
Right.
Oh, that guy.
That guy.
From the police academies, right?
Yes.
Am I looking at the right guy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I can definitely see that.
Yep. I said if you type his name in 1966, the image that comes up, I said that little pouty, pissed off look, it was like, yep, there it is.
Well, the picture that they're using on IMDb is pretty much a pouty, although it's more of a 70s picture, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I was going for more of a pretty boy look, even for this character. And it was Tony Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
He was just coming off, I think The Great Race was about this time. So, it was 65 when he did The Great Race. So I can see putting a pair of spectacles on him, and just like they did in Some Like It Hot, and make him villainous.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
Yeah.
It would really be interesting to see him in a role like this too. I mean, you'd see him around enough that you get a sense that he can act, but you also kind of wonder if maybe because he was kind of the pretty boy, he didn't get much opportunity to actually act.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
So it would be really fun to see him kind of go nuts with a role like this.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, me neither. That's a good choice.
Yeah, I went with somebody a little older and who had kind of been around and played a little wider variety of roles. Not somebody quite so pretty, but somebody who you see just all over the place in the '60s. I picked John Hoyt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he can probably act well enough to do this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
I like that choice. I do too. I guess I went outside the box a little bit. I can kind of see him visually, and it would have been interesting to see him actually play a villain. I don't know if he's ever. I'm sure he has, at one point or another. It's not ringing a bell right now. But I went with Tom Bosley.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That would have been prior to Happy Days, right?
Oh, by
a ways.
a decade.
By a ways, yeah. But yeah, I can totally see it. I mean, especially you see him in some little this is going to sound weird. You see him in some of his later stuff after Happy Days.
Yeah.
And yeah, he proved he can do the serious stuff really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did.
So yeah, that's cool.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Next.
All right. This one I should probably just leave off because I was kind of stuck on this one too. But I kept thinking Green Goblin, and the only person I can think of from this time period that was kind of squirrely looking like the Green Goblin was Festus. So I went with Ken Curtis.
Ken Curtis.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have thought
Okay.
of that. That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
It would definitely be a different kind of Green Goblin.
Oh, definitely.
You could have some fun with that, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's doable.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of the Ken Curtis from what's the Attack of the Killer Shrewds. I mean, that's the only non-Festus role I've ever seen of his, and yeah, I can see that.
And he was probably the best actor of that cast.
Cool.
Okay.
For the Green Goblin, my choice was Lawrence Harvey. This was the British actor from The Manchurian Candidate, The Alamo, even The Running Man of 1963. Obviously, we knew that he could do the serious acting, and he died in 73, so this would have been just prior to his passing.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. That's cool.
I like it.
Me too.
Oh, that's me then, right?
Yeah.
I went. I actually was a little bit torn on this. I came up with two different names. My problem is I don't know that they're different enough actors that it would matter that they're two different names. The one I think I'm leaning towards kind of got semi-famous a little, like in the 70s a little bit, but I think it would be interesting to kind of rewind him a bit, which is, again, why I'm a little annoyed I didn't think of doing this with MJ, but because I ended up doing it here, I picked William Christopher.
Father Mulcahy.
Father Mulcahy. Because I'd seen him in a few other little things here and there, and I think he would be an interesting. He would have a fun take on Green Goblin. I think you get I don't want to call him Weasley looking, but if you put the right mannerisms on him, I think he could pull off sinister really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
In that kind of thing.
I think so.
I think it would be fun to see him, especially to see him go with the contrast from that sinister Green Goblin thing to jump into Father Mulcahy. That would be really cool. But
That would be.
Interesting. I like that. With this one, when I was looking for an actor, I was definitely looking for someone who could exude authority, because we're thinking about him as Osborn, as a head of a corporation and all that, and be well respected, but also can be very, very intense, especially when he's playing Green Goblin. Now, I know my choice had a full-time gig at the time, but since this was a guest starring role, it's not like he couldn't do both. So I think I kind of went, this may be outside the box again. I'll leave that up to you and to the listeners, but I went with Vic Morrow.
ooh, I like that.
From Combat, right?
Yep. Yeah, he was doing Combat at the time.
I like it.
Me too.
I don't think that it's a bad pick at all, because I think at that time he probably wanted to stretch a bit, not be doing a war show every week.
Right. Not necessarily be the good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be fun. Yeah. And yeah, you could do it where he shows up maybe 3 or 4 times throughout a season.
Right.
Yeah. I like
Cool.
that one.
Cool.
And our final one, Liz.
All right. Our final villain is Kingpin. So with this one, I cast Raymond Burr.
I don't laugh because I don't think he can do it. I think he would be awesome.
Yeah.
I kind of laugh because I almost think he would be like the stereotype choice for this role.
He did, I mean, perfect look for it, for sure.
Yeah.
Just shave his head and
Put little glasses on him.
and tell him to flash back to Rear Window, and you're all good.
There you go.
That was kind of the route I took, too. That was one of my choices.
Cool.
Okay. Mike?
Okay. I had a hard time with this one because I had kind of two mindsets with Kingpin. I had kind of the look, and I had the attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I ended up, unfortunately, not being able to settle on one person. The one I think would probably be the better fit overall was Dan Blocker. I think he's the one who has the look. I think you dress him up properly, and I think he looks like Kingpin, or could very easily look like Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the attitude goes, and I thought the voice would have just been, if you could get Dan Blocker to stand there and mouth the words and have Vic Tayback do the voice for him, that would be perfect. That would be if I could find that. And I'm not saying Dan Blocker couldn't do the voice or do a voice that would work, but when I thought about this time period, it was Vic Tayback's voice I heard.
Okay.
Which,
Yeah.
I mean, I think he could pull off the presence if he had to. I mean, you could kind of, like I said, I was really torn on this one.
Right.
I think either one of them would be interesting yet different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Both of them would be good choices. I thought of Vic Tayback. I didn't think about Dan Blocker, but I can definitely see that. I actually went with a name that was mentioned earlier, Ed Asner.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah,
that.
I could too.
You definitely get the attitude.
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. You can get the attitude. So Les, Les, did you have more choices? Because it sounded like you went with some more villains.
I did, yes.
We'll go right ahead.
And some support characters.
Okay.
Michael Anderson Jr. for Flash Thompson. He was in Logan's Run.
Okay.
He played one of the buddies. Richard Widmark as the Vulture.
Ooh. Ooh. I like that.
I'm a big Widmark fan, so yeah, I would be down for that.
Uncle Ben. Let's go to well-known Henry Fonda.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Because luckily he'll only have 2 scenes and he'll be done with the show.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah.
But see, you could ride the flashback train forever with that, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
It would be annoying, but you could do it.
Oh, it's pulling into the station now. Tom Tryon. Do you remember Tom Tryon?
Mm-mm.
I had him down as Kraven the Hunter.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, what film am I thinking of that he was?
He was in Harm's Way and The Longest Day. He was the lead in The Cardinal. He was also an author. Let's see. The last two I have are Gwen Stacy.
Okay.
And she would have fit about that age group, and that was Haley Mills.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember seeing her name when I was looking at people for MJ. So yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one would be just essentially the voice. Mysterio.
Okay.
You're not going to need much to do with Mysterio. And for a voice, I thought of Lee Marvin.
That is a voice.
Yep.
That is a voice. Yes.
Do you think it's the right voice?
I think it could be.
I think it could be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can see him better than Howard McNear, who played Floyd the Barber on Andy Griffith.
Yeah, I mean, those are good choices too. I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Did anybody else do any extra credit?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to the point where I was struggling a bit with some of these, and I didn't get a chance to kind of go past it.
Yeah, I understand.
My other option, I had mentioned I had two options for Green Goblin. I didn't actually name who the second one was. I was thinking David McCallum. But my problem was that I don't think it would be that different from William Christopher.
Okay.
I don't think there's a striking enough difference between the two, and McCallum was working at the time, so.
Right.
I mean, not that Christopher wasn't, but McCallum was in.
Man from Uncle.
Man from Uncle.
Was it? Yeah, it had just started, I believe.
Yeah.
So he had a gig.
Mm-hmm. All right. I liked all the choices. I think all were strong and very intriguing. I kind of liked the different focus or the different aspects that we kind of looked at these characters and said, okay, well, would be a good actor for this role.
See, yeah, and to throw back to what you were saying at the beginning, that's where these get to be a little more fun. I mean, like I said, it's harder, but we're more likely to come up with something different, with something that isn't quite so prescribed like something else, like when we did the Batman '66, when we're just coming up with new villains.
Right.
There's a lot already established there, and we kind of it's harder to get away from that. Here we can kind of just wander off on our own little rabbit trails.
Yeah.
And it makes it more fun.
Yep. I agree.
Yep.
All righty. Well, I hope you out there have enjoyed this. We would love to hear if you had any picks, or if anything kind of crossed your mind and thought, well, why didn't y'all think about this actor? We would love to hear from you. Just shoot us an email at fellowshipofgeeks.net with your picks or whatever. Definitely love to hear from you. Be cool to hear some feedback about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. On that note, we are going to take a quick break and be back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for our weekly picks, and leading off this week is Mike.
Yeah, I'm going first, so suck it, y'all. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Wow.
And I was taking a drink when you said that, so I'm glad I did do the spit take.
Got to set a tone.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Got to set a tone, right? Okay. Anyway, so really, my first pick is from IDW Publishing, and I am picking Clue Candlestick #1. the last Clue series we got from IDW was really fun. And so this is actually kind of a different take. We got a new crew in here. The cartoonist named Dash Shaw has kind of taken over the whole thing, and I am really looking forward to seeing this new take on the Clue. I hesitate to say comic series, but it's because it's kind of not really a series. But what they've done with it so far has been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more, even though I know it's probably going to be a little different. It's going to be good.
That one did look pretty interesting.
I agree with you.
Yep, this was on my list as well. I have really enjoyed the first miniseries, so I'm excited to see where this one goes.
Yep.
Alrighty, I am next, and for my first pick, I am going with a collection. This is from Marvel Comics. It's entitled Fantastic Four Behold Galactus. And this actually collects 3 story arcs. Obviously, the first one that introduces not only Galactus, but also introduces Silver Surfer. This is by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And then the second story arc introduces Airwalker, and with art by John Buscema. And then the third story arc is from John Byrne's run that introduces Terex. Some great Galactus story arcs put together. It's classic Fantastic Four. It's going to be fun.
Cool.
Kind of hard to go wrong there.
Yep.
I agree. I think that's one that I'll look forward to myself.
Alrighty, Les, you're next.
I am next. From DC comes a collection of Cover. This is by Brian Michael Bendis and David Mack. This was a fun series. This is a 6-issue series about intelligence and counterintelligence by agencies that figure that the social misfits who make comic books are the match that they need to conduct these espionage moves. What's unusual about this is that it's based on a true story. This was a really fine series. It was almost too short, but I would suspect that they will be bouncing back with a second group. And to have the writing style of Bendis and the art of Mack really put it over the top, now you can get it as a set.
Nice.
Who is this Bendis guy? I mean, geez, come on.
He's a
I should know
newbie.
his name.
Yeah, he's a newbie. He just came in from somewhere.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of those no names.
Yep.
Alrighty, Liz.
All right. For my first pick, I have to give you guys a little bit of history to understand what it's about.
Oh, boy.
Yep. Sit down for this one. In 1985, Paul Laird and Kevin Eastman came up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They did not expect it to be what it is today at all. And matter of fact, their first backers for that comic book was their parents, who gave them $40. So they set out, they did 3,000 issues, and that was it. And the Turtles came to life and became what we know now. Well, before they quit working with each other in the 90s, both Laird and Eastman said, hey, if the right person comes along and wants to buy this from us, we're going to do it. I mean, we're going to make our $40 back. So flash forward to 2009, I believe it was. The right deal did come along, and they sold the rights to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, Eastman still writes for the Turtles, But as far as property rights, they have sold those. So my first pick is actually a story called Drawing Blood Spilled Ink #1. This will follow an artist who is basically Kevin Eastman, and this guy comes up with the radically rearranged Ronin ragdolls. So, I wonder what he's talking about there. But basically, same thing happens in the book. He sells the rights to this, and kind of how his life has, hit skids here and there, and there's been a lot of bumps, and kind of questioning, should I have done this? So this story is kind of like, it's fiction, but it's based on what happened to him. So if you're curious, they don't talk a lot about after the deal, but apparently this comic book will. So, and also it's also an independent. I don't know who's as the publisher. They have other, so it's an independent comic that he's doing this time. So.
Oh yeah, that old publishing company, other publishing company, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. So it should be pretty good. Like I said, if you're a fan of the Turtles, I've always had a soft spot for them. So I said this one should be pretty good.
Could be fun.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Alrighty, Mikey, you're up again.
I'm up again. Okay, so my second pick is a Dark Horse title, and I am picking Invisible Kingdom. #3 is coming out this week. And this is essentially, it's two stories. Although I suspect the two stories will come crashing together very soon. This is the two main characters. One of them is a freighter pilot. This is all set out in like galaxy far, far away sort of stuff. So one of them is a freighter pilot or captain of a small freighter who has recently realized that one of the crates in her hold is not what it's supposed to be, and she's expecting a lot of trouble to come from this, and she's not thrilled about it. The other character is she's recently traveled to another planet to join a convent sort of setup. I'm not remembering off the top of my head if they actually use that word, but it's essentially what it is. And she's also kind of figuring out that something about that place is not what it appears to be either. And I'm beginning to think like I said, these two things are going to crash together at some point, in the very near future. And so this is turning out to be a very interesting story.
Things are not what they seem.
Oh boy. Big time.
Yeah, the first two issues really help you along and are contributing to the fact that things aren't right.
Yeah. Like I said, they're really well written at this point. I mean,
Yes.
Like I said, even to the point where these two totally different things are not connected at all. But when it happens, it's going to happen fast, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really interesting.
Cool.
Alrighty, I'm up next, and for my second choice, it's another collection from Dark Horse Comics. This is Volume 1 of Department H Omnibus, written and illustrated by Matt Kind. This collects issues 1 through 12, and if you did not read this series, I highly recommend it. I know Mikey would. I'm sure Les will. This is a sci-fi mystery that takes place under the ocean. And it's just such a great read. It's been too long. How long ago was this when this came out? It was about 3?
I was going to say it's been like at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe more. But yeah, and it's hard for me because I actually just recently read the first trade of it again. So my time is a little thrown off on it. But yeah, it's been at least 2 years.
But yeah, it was such a great read, and I'm glad this is first issue released April 20th, 2016.
Okay, yeah, so you were right, 3 years.
3 years. So I'm glad that this collection's coming out again, and pick it up.
Yep, it's a great story.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate.
Alrighty, Les, you're next.
Me again. From Keen Spot, we have issue number 5 of Junior High Horrors. This is an amusing book. It's been really funny to see the predicaments they put these kids in. This time it's even drawing me back to my high school, junior high days. Because this time the kids are facing what they consider their biggest threat. It's the fact that they deal with beans at lunch. So now the group has to deal with the giant cloud of the fart.
So highbrow humor then.
Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely way up there. Like I said, it's been an amusing series. Step on in. They even have a Fog parody cover this time.
That's awesome.
So take a look. Give it a look.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Alrighty, Liz.
All right. For my second pick, I've talked about this one before, but I found out something really neat about it. It's Oz, the Heart of Magic, #2. This is a 5-part series. Now, I don't want to take business away from your local comic book store, but if you go on Zenescope's website, they've got a really cool subscription service set up for this comic. And one of the things that I guess drew me to Zenescope was their amazing covers. I mean, I've never seen a bad one come from Zenescope. But usually every title has probably about 4 or 5 different covers you can choose from. And this one, they give you a choice of either, A or C covers. So you can either get the regular or the variant of it. But they send it out the same week that your local comic book store would get it. Plus you get some neat little pins and that kind of stuff. So if you're interested, go check it out. But the story itself is pretty cool because it's a different take on the Wizard of Oz, which is also one of the cool things about Zenescope. They take your childhood fables and twist them really hard.
Notice that she makes it sound like this is a good thing.
Right. Sometimes it is,
And it is. I agree.
Yeah. In this one, Dorothy is actually not Dorothy. She's trapped inside of somebody else's body from the last series. And the second one, the one that we're on now, she's actually looking for Glenda because she thinks that Glenda can help her get back to, her regular body and become Dorothy again. But there's some really strange things happening in Oz. And I'm not for sure, as the reader, how much longer Oz is going to last in the condition it's in. So it should be interesting to see if maybe this has something connected with Dorothy not being Dorothy, or, like I said, if you think you know where the story's going, I can tell you now you're wrong. Zenescope's another good one of getting you to go along and at the very end totally screwing with your head. So I'm very excited to see where this one's going. Short little series, so if you're looking for something that's not a heavy read, definitely check this one out.
Not a heavy read, but will almost certainly confuse you along the way. But
oh, definitely.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
No, I agree. The first issue of this was really good.
Yeah.
Yep. Alrighty. And honorable mention is
Honorable mention is from Image Comics. It too is a volume. It's called Matador. This was a 6-issue series by Devin Grayson and Brian Stelfreeze. Grayson was the writer on Nightwing. Stelfreeze was the artist on Black Panther. This is good stuff. This is about killers for hire, and it goes all over the place, but it's a great read, and I highly recommend it. You get to find out if the Matador is an urban legend or if he is an actual killer. So step up, try this one out.
Yep, this one definitely sounds intriguing.
Cool.
Yep.
I know, crime story. That's hard for me. Hard to believe that I'm saying that, but yeah,
Alrighty. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
No.
Other than we're glad to be back.
Yes.
Well, that's true.
And it didn't even die. Yay! I think I fixed it this time.
We're not done yet.
Yeah, we're not done yet. I don't know. Do you hear the fans yet?
No.
I even knocked the dogs out.
Mm-hmm. All right. We will proceed on to our regular shout-outs. And first off, I want to thank the fine folks at Pop Goes the Culture for allowing us to be part of their podcast network. Definitely check out their shows. There's going to be a link in our notes. Some great podcasts there. Definitely check them out. Thank you so very much. And obviously, you should check out the fine recordings of our fellow Podern family members on Twitter. Go over there, do a search, hashtag Podern Family, and just scroll down, and whatever catches your fancy, click that link, download that episode, and we hope you have a blast listening to their great shows. Definitely check them out. Thank you very much. Manny the Martyr, thank you for supplying the music for our podcast. We'll have a link to some of their other music on our show notes as well, so definitely check them out. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We do appreciate your support. We would love to hear from you. Any kind of feedback you'd like to provide, whether it's questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, whatever, please send them our way. We would love to hear them. I've already talked about email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. If you'd like to send us an email, you can go to the website. That's www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. And click on the About Us tab, and there is a contact form that you can fill out. We will get that. Feel free to follow us on social media. Facebook, we are The Fellowship of the Geeks. And also, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I will have the event for our next meet and gab in April. We'll have that out in the not too distant future. Obviously, we're on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Feel free to follow us there. If you'd like to follow our individual Twitter accounts, feel free to do so. Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. And I can be found at TomTC Geek. And as I've been mentioning the last few weeks, we have set up a group page on MeWe, MEWE. So if you're checking out this new social media platform, feel free to apply to join our group. We're still checking things out there. I kind of like it. It's kind of cool little social media platform. But if you're on there, by all means, feel free to follow us there. And wherever you download our episodes, we would greatly appreciate it if you would rate and review. Thank you very much. Anything else? Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate you listening.
Thank you for listening once again, everybody. We do appreciate it. Until next time, I hope you have a good week, and geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,